Know thyself. Those are the words written at the entrance of the Delphi oracle. This inscription begs the question to those who make the trek. Who are you? The most difficult question of all for the modern man. So how are we to find our true nature, our destiny? Can they be attained from our dreams or the stories of the past? These are the questions we ponder on this podcast. My heart racing, the bed a pool of sweat. Disoriented and unsure of my surroundings, a thought occurs. Is this a dream? I look around the room. It appears to be the same one that I slept in the night before, but everything felt different. I laid in bed for another hour wondering what just happened. I hadn't remembered any dreams for the last 20 years, but this night changed everything. I began recalling the whole dream, writing down every scene. An old man explains that I am to get on this wooden boat and take a journey across the water. He emphasized that it is most important to take a wooden boat because it was made of nature. I got on the boat and began the journey across this dark and murky river. Suddenly, a monster comes out of nowhere, knocking me off into the dark and dangerous waters. I no longer remember how to swim. I'm completely motionless, sinking to the bottom of the river. Stiff as a board, falling deeper and deeper into the depths of this dark, murky river. Out of nowhere, a dog comes swimming down at me, grabs me by the back of my neck, and starts swimming upwards to the top of the river. He then suddenly throws me onto the back of a turtle. The turtle turns around and smiles, starts swimming towards the shore. Suddenly, the water doesn't feel so dangerous anymore. It's now full of these beautiful lily pads with a lotus flower on them. We finally make it back to shore safely. Then I wake up. I had no idea what this trip meant. The next few weeks I roamed around town thinking about this dream, unsure of where it came from, why I'm having it, and I couldn't put my finger on it. Then I started to search for an answer, and I ran across a podcast where Ray Dalio, who's the founder of Bridgewater Associates, a private equity firm that was really famous for a lot of things, but radical transparency was one thing that they talk about a lot. And I'm listening to this podcast, and the host asks Ray what book changed his life, and he said Joseph Campbell's The Hero with 1,000 Faces. So I purchased that book, and I read a story as I was going through the book that sort of made me feel uneasy. There were so many similarities. It was the story of Osiris and Isis is an ancient Egyptian myth. Osiris, this great, was born to rule Egypt. His brother was Set. He was the god of the underworld. And Set was obviously very jealous of Osiris, who was, going to be on the throne. And so he tricked Osiris to get into this wooden chest. He suddenly locks it and throws it in the Nile River. The coffin makes this journey down the Nile and lands safely in Byblos. Set realizes that his brother's still alive, finds him, dismembers his body, and scatters the pieces all over the place. Now Isis, who was the sister and wife of Osiris, which This is actually very common in ancient times, especially of those of royal background. But Isis sets out to find Osiris. And she sets out with the help of Anubis, which is this half dog, half human. And Anubis basically helps Isis find all these pieces of Osiris, puts them together, and Osiris and Isis laid with each other once more to have a child. Osiris reappeared in his son, Horpi Trude. So I began thinking, these dreams had similarities. I dug a little deeper and I found Carl Jung's Symbols of Transformation. This was sort of the next book that I read following Heroes with 1,000 Faces. And, what appeared to be hieroglyphics a couple weeks ago is now making sense to me. This dream, I feel like I have this answer key now to these hieroglyphics. And the meaning of the dream was most enlightening, but the really, I think the power in it was the timing in my life. All of my subsequent dreams had one unifying theme. So after that, I started having more and more dreams, and they were all about death and resurrection. And I've had these series of dreams for several weeks now, and I get a call from my girlfriend, and it's a FaceTime call, and she holds up a pregnancy test that had the positive or the pregnant words on it, and everything changed. I think my body knew that I was going to be a father for the first time before I had any clue. And that was a life-changing moment for me. And now the dreams began to make total sense. So I've interpreted this dream in the following way. The old man represents who told me to get in the wooden boat. He's our ancient wisdom. It's necessary to allow this sort of ancient soul to lead you. The wooden boat is symbolic of a coffin. It represents death, and the murky and the dark waters that I had to go on, or the maternal fluid. It's sort of like the amniotic fluid of the womb. And so the wise soul has told me to die, then take a journey back to life. So a sea journey is very, very, it's repetitive in hero stories, right? So you die, you show up, and you take a journey across the water, which is, in turn, if you think about it, we were all sea creatures at one point in the womb. And we go across this sea journey to be reborn. You can think of the story of Perseus, or even the story of Osiris. And heroes follow the path of the sun. So the sun sets in the west, and it appears to go into the maternal waters of the ocean. And from an ancient perspective, they had no idea where the sun went. They thought it went into the water, went through the water, underwater, and came out the east again to be reborn. And a lot of the hero stories sort of follow that path. So the sea journey is really an arduous and a dangerous journey. There's these deep, dark waters, and often in hero stories they encounter some sort of beast in the water. So in my story, this beast comes out, and it's our dark side of the unconscious. It knocks me right off of of my coffin into the deep waters of the unknown. I'm no longer in the comforts of this boat. I'm no longer above the unknown. Now I'm in the depths of the unknown, and I'm forced to experience the pain and death with no chance of survival. That's exactly how it felt in my dream. This terrifying feeling of being drowning in this world. But I'm rescued. I'm rescued by these animal instincts that are representative in the dog and the turtle. So the Greek god of medicine, had a dog as his companion. And the dog is thought of to help raise man from the dead in ancient cultures. The ancient Persians would bring a dog to the bedside of a dying man. And they believed that he was supposed to guide you in this sort of afterlife. And the Mithra cult had a dog as sort of present at this moment of supreme fruitfulness. So death, in other words, is an act to bring about a new beginning. Death is required in order for rebirth. The turtle is an ancient, cold-blooded, and resilient creature that puts the world on its back. So now that I've found my animal instincts and have resurfaced, I start to see these lily pads with the lotus flower. And if you study any sort of ancient mythology or religion, you know that the lotus is representative of self-regeneration and rebirth. So to me, this dream meant the path to enlightenment, to becoming whole, requires death, rebirth, and an integration of my animal instincts. And the timing of it was apropos, because this is going to be one of the biggest challenges that I certainly face in my personal life. So let's quickly recap these images, because I think they're critically important to understanding your dreams. So the old wise man, ancient wisdom. The wooden boat, coffin or death. The tree is human life. So this wooden idea is life, but it's our current life. And the tree comes up a lot, and wood comes up a lot in mythology. You can think of it in the Christ symbol of the crucifix. Water is the unconscious. It's the maternal, right? The sea creatures are shadow, our old beliefs, the negative things that we believe about ourselves. The dog is our animal instincts. It's rebirth. The turtles are animal instincts of resiliency. Always being able to manage the things that happen in our lives. And the lotus flower is self-regeneration. So these images obviously have been expressed over and over again in mythologies, in movies, in art, in music. But now I could recognize them and understand the importance in my personal life. So it's believed that mythology is simply the poetry of the psyche. And if you pay attention to these symbols, you'll see that they're just merely a reflection of what's found deep inside of you. So next week we're going to really get into psychology, and we're going to figure out where these symbols come from. And then we're going to wrap up with music. We're going to look at a popular song and in the 1980s. And, the song really doesn't probably make a whole lot of sense, or does it? We'll find out.